I've been in the mood to build a really cutesy, wholesome family home, and for some reason I've been drawn to San Sequoia recently, so that's where we're going to be building our family house today. So here we are in San Sequoia on this 30 by 20 lot. I'm pretty sure the last time I built on this lot in particular was summer of last year, and I built a summer craftsman style family home. But for today's video, I actually found a reference image on Pinterest, which I'll pop up on the screen for you now so that you can see what we were working towards, with this particular house. And the biggest thing that drew me to this reference image was the fact that it was quite a unique, quirky, cutesy shape. I really enjoyed the colour scheme as well, and going into this, the initial thought process and the initial plan was actually to replicate the overall colour scheme, the overall shape, like everything as you saw in the reference image. Unfortunately, I just couldn't get that green siding to look somewhat nice in The Sims 4. So I do end up changing the siding out to just like this blue siding from base game, which is why I'm calling this, I'm not really sure what I'm going to call this, but it's definitely a cutesy blue suburban house. And yeah, the reference image, I fell in love with it and I want to try and replicate it in today's video. So that is what we are trying to do here. The shape came together really quickly. I think it didn't take me too long at all to sort of put this together. So I was quite impressed by that, to be honest, and I think I took a little bit of a creative liberty with the right hand side of this build just to give us a little bit more space on the interior. Speaking of the interior, we do have 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a playroom, we have a separate dining room, separate kitchen and separate living space as well. We also have an external garage, so the house itself actually has quite a lot to offer, although looking at it I think you'd probably assume that it's probably on the smaller side. I think it's actually quite a decent size. So this is where I tried to play around with this green siding. This one is from the Growing Together pack, which is of course the world that San Sequoia came with. So I feel like when you're working in worlds that came with packs, I think using the sidings from packs it makes sense. Unfortunately, I could not get this siding to look good. I think this is, in my opinion, for my builds personally, this is more of like an accent siding is what I would refer to this as, meaning you could probably use this alongside a different siding as more of like just an accent piece rather than having it for the overall house, if that makes sense. So then I tried it in blue, and then I tried like this one from Horse Ranch. That wasn't working. I was adamant I was going to build a greenhouse. Unfortunately, it just didn't turn out that way. But I'm not mad about it. I love a blue Suburban. I think they're so just like wholesome and cutesy, and this one definitely ticked both of those boxes, at least in my opinion. And the interior is super colourful. It's light, it's bright, it's airy, it's fun, and I think honestly this is just a really nice family home for you and your Sims to enjoy. So hopefully you'll all enjoy it as well. Then I try this siding from Cats and Dogs. Now I love the sidings from Cats and Dogs. I feel like it's been a long time since I've actually been able to make one of those sidings work in one of my builds. I think looking back on the footage now, I do like this siding, and there is a small part of me that wishes I'd have stuck with this. But I think the blue siding from base game just had that more sort of like vibrant blue that I was really looking for. Ultimately, when I decided this wasn't going to be a green-sided house, and I was like, oh, it's just going to be blue. Yeah, the one from base game just seemed to have a little bit more of that vibrancy to it. So that's why I ended up choosing that. But I do use quite a few items, from Growing Together itself, including these windows, because I love that pack. I spoke about it when it came out, and I was thinking about this when I was building this house. I think Growing Together came out a few years ago at this point. I'm not exactly sure of the exact year Growing Together came out. I know I was at work at the time when the trailer dropped, and the excitement among the community, it was just unmatched. Probably excitement that we're not going to feel for a long time, if ever. But I was thinking, when did that pack even come out? I just cannot believe how quickly time's going at the moment, and I'm not really sure where I was going with that statement, but anyway, it doesn't matter. The house also has, I would class this as quite a small side garden sort of situation, but I did try and utilize as much of the space on the lot as possible. And as you can see, that's where the garage has gone in, and I was quite happy I put that on there, to be completely honest, because it just offered a little bit more space for your Sims. I turned that into a bit of a multi-purpose room, so there's like a woodworking table, we've got some weights in there, we've got the Christmas tree in there. I spoke about this last time I did a family house of the garage, and I've started putting the Christmas trees in the garage so that, like, for gameplay purposes, if you're playing through the seasons and it comes to Winterfest, you can grab the tree from the garage and pop it in the house and decorate it with your Sims. I think it's such a cute idea, and that's why I love adding them to my garages. So now I do need to address something here, because you might have noticed like a bit of a change in the footage, and that's because I did initially start to place some landscaping down on this house, and the landscaping just wasn't working for me at all. So I ended up demolishing it and then coming back to it, I think a couple of hours later, just with a fresh pair of eyes, because I talk about this on the channel quite a lot, but if I keep looking at my builds for too long, I'll start picking them apart, and then there's always a chance that I'm not even going to try and finish them. And I just didn't want that to be the case with this house, because I was really enjoying the overall look of it and how everything was sort of coming together at this particular point. And you can see like the landscape, well, you can't really see the landscaping because I was going to try and explain that this is my second attempt at the landscaping, and you can see like the stark difference between the two different landscapes that I'd actually managed to pull together for this house. But I'd actually edited that out of the first part of the video, because my first attempt at the landscaping was far too much, and I was just like, no, we're not even going to entertain that today. I also put a white picket fence out front, because to me this just screams classic suburban house, and it just like it's so the epitome for me of like a classic Sims house as well. And I was just like, oh yes, I loved this idea so much, and I thought it came together really well. I loved all the colours that we used with all of the landscaping pieces here, the little bushes out front, and yeah, I love the way that this all came together. We also added some sunflowers out front here, because to me, like, the sunflowers against the blue siding just worked beautifully. I love yellow with blue. I think they're two colours that go together and look incredible. And the sunflowers just added to that, like, cartoony, idealistic house. I think, is idealistic even a word? I hope so, because if not, I've just made a fool of myself. But anyway, we just start working on the back of the build here in just a moment. I always talk about this on the channel as well, how I'll work on the front of the build in its entirety first, decide if I like it, and then I'll work on the back of the build, which I always find quite funny, because I know there's like other creators, like most of the creators I think work on the entire house first, and then they're like, oh yes, I like this, I'll keep working on it. I just do the front, because I think for me, if the front doesn't look good, in my opinion, then I'm not gonna keep working on it if it doesn't. And then I just think, well, I've put all that effort into the back as well, and now I'm gonna bulldoze the whole thing. Like, come on. It makes sense to me, but now that I'm explaining it out loud, I'm not really sure how much sense it actually makes. But anyway, so we do move on to the side here. I add this sort of side porch area as well. This is where we had like a cute little seating area onto the side of the house. I think it works really quite nicely, and it just gives your Sims another place to chill, hang out. There's a barbecue out here, there's a swing set, there's some planter boxes too, there's a place for your Sims to sit and eat their meals together. I just think it works so well. I think looking back, I would have quite liked to extend the garden like to the whole back of the house. I think I'm a little bit disappointed that I didn't do that, but also you have to take into consideration just how much space that would have given us in the back garden. The answer is not that much, and I think I end up landscaping that bit off camera, because initially I was considering extending the back garden just like so it took up the entire width of the whole house, and I thought, well, if I leave it till the end, then maybe I can decide what I want to do, sort of thing. And then we do work on the floor plan here. So I do move this door over to the side patio, because I wanted to put the stairs obviously as you come into the house, and that's where the playroom ends up being. I don't know whether I've mentioned this, but I was initially going to turn that into an office. I feel like I did mention this at the beginning of the video. I was going to turn that through room, quote unquote, into an office, But for this house, I decided to turn it into a playroom. I just thought that worked so much better given the fact that this family has 3 kids. They've got, like I said, the 1 child and then the 2 twin infants as well. So there's a lot of kids in this house. So yeah, this is where I start working on the floor plan. I can't remember when I furnish the side of the house. I don't know whether I do that after I've done the floor planning, which is quite unusual. Usually I'd just do like the whole of the outside and then move on to the interior. But I feel like I might have mixed things up a little bit with this house, which is quite interesting. So the floor plan downstairs wasn't too much of a big deal. Upstairs, I got stuck a little bit. Initially, I was thinking I've only really got room for 1 bedroom up here. And then I was like, whoa, that's a big main bedroom. No, we must have room for 3 bedrooms up here, but I can't remember if I added the 3rd bedroom off camera or on camera. I feel like I did it on camera. So you'll see me have a little bit of a struggle here, but that's fine because ultimately we got to where we wanted to be in the end. And yeah, it's okay. I think I wanted to give the main bedroom an ensuite as well. So this is where the 3rd bedroom is. It's quite a long, skinny room, and I do end up sort of making it work and look a little bit less awkward than it does now. I think what I end up doing is I end up pulling some space away from the bedroom at the front to make the bedroom in the middle a little bit wider, because we've got the space to do that in the bedroom at the front. So that's what I decided to do there. Oh yes, I did. So I did the floor plan, and then now I'm going back outside, again, something that I wouldn't usually do. And then this is where we decorate the side yard. So just continuing on, the landscaping that we've got at the front of the build, because we've talked about this many times on the channel. It just makes sense to me to sort of try and replicate the landscaping as best as I can, you know, in like all areas of the build, to sort of give the build a bit of continuity. And I think it looks really cute. I was going to add a tree there, and then I was like, whoa, we've already got 2 trees here. We don't need another one. So this is the swing set. I think this one's from Seasons, in this really fun rainbow sort of yellow and blue swatch, because we do have the yellow and blue at the front of the build. I just thought everything worked really nicely there. So I do actually add quite a few blue items out in the garden as well, just to try and sort of match what we've got going on with the side. I just thought, if I'm going to do a blue suburban house, I'm just going to run with that as a theme. Which I'm really, really glad I did. And yeah, that's the picnic table down. We just add, I think I had a couple of chairs here instead of these little plants from the Enchanted by Nature pack. That is a cute little chair that I ended up putting on the side porch. I think that's from Jungle Adventure, if I'm not mistaken. Someone please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's from Jungle Adventure. Again, with the blue pillows, I just thought it worked so well. The chairs are even blue, but with pops of that hot pink again. I thought they worked quite well with the swing set. So I think overall, it's a very colourful house. And as I was saying at the beginning, I think I was saying this at the beginning, I was saying that I'm in my colourful build era at the moment. I can't even speak today, so I'm doing really well. I'm in my colourful build era at the moment, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm just having so much fun playing around with different colours and things like that, and this house is no exception to that rule. So I'm really pleased with it. I did add a fan out here. I'm not entirely sure how realistic that is, but my husband and I got 2 shark fans last year that are like, they're portable fans and you can use them outside. So I was kind of thinking, okay, well maybe that could be an outside fan as well, for those warm summer afternoons and summer evenings that you want to spend on your porch, but you don't want to, like, you know, literally burn to death like Sims do in a heat wave. Now we've moved on to the inside of the house, and we do start working on the living room first. So just a warning, it took me a while to work out what colour scheme I wanted to go for with this room, because I knew that I wanted to bring in that little bit of blue that we had, a little bit of blue that we've got going on outside. We've got quite a lot of blue going on outside, Rachel. The blue that we've got going on outside, I wanted to try and bring into the interior of this house as well. So you will see me bring that in here. I spend an awful lot of time trying to pick out a rug that I thought was going to work in here. I was convinced I was going to use this one from Growing Together. And then I was like, no, it's not really giving, I don't know, like what I was trying to achieve with the interior of this house. I'm not entirely sure why that was, but it wasn't working for me at all. So I ended up changing it out, but I'm just trying to remember which rug I actually decided on using, because I chose that many. And I can't remember, I only finished this build yesterday night, I think, at the time of me recording this. And I can't remember which rug I ended up using, but I do use these dark blue sofas from the base game. And I'm pretty sure the rug has some orange and peachy tones to it as well, because I end up changing the smaller of the cushions on the sofa to the orange swatch. And then I also add some more pops of orange just to the overall room as well. But why can't I remember which rug I chose? Anyway, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I do spend an awful lot of time trying to choose something that I thought would look nice. I think even this swatch does work, but I knew that if I chose this swatch, I would restrict myself with the colours that I was going to use. And I didn't want to do that here. I wanted this to be quite colourful. And then I did decide to put these bookshelves behind one of the sofas here. It's something that I adore doing because I think they look so nice. I think I started doing this a few months ago. I don't know why. I can't remember where I saw it or if it's just something that I decided to organically do. But yeah, I started doing that a few months ago and now I can't stop. So now this is the rug from the Tiny Living stuff pack, but I'm not convinced this is the rug that I use as the final rug. So just as a forewarning, I am so sorry. No, see, I'm going through it again. I'm like, it looks fine, but it's not colourful enough, you know? So which one did I end up deciding on? Honestly, I cannot remember. I'm gonna have to look. Oh, it's the one from Dream Home Decorator. That's right. So we've got the blue, the cream, the yellow, and the sort of soft pink colour in this rug, which just really fit in with the colours that I was envisioning in my mind when I started working on this room. So I'm so sorry for the viewing experience on that one and for the fact that I could not remember for the life of me which rug I wanted to use or decided to use here, sorry. But I thought I could team it up with this really cute little armchair as well because it matches that swatch in the rug almost perfectly. And then it just allowed me again to bring in more creams, a little bit of orange as well. So we've got this really cute orange plant on here. It's a plant I never use. I think it's from For Rent, if I'm not mistaken. Someone will correct me if I'm wrong. I'm terrible sometimes with remembering which items are from which packs. Like I was saying, I can't remember how long ago. We've just got too many packs at the minute. And luckily for me, I'm not actually buying any more packs anyway, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, just add a little bit of clutter here. This is when I was like, oh, now I can start adding a little bit of orange into this room too. And then sort of adding this blue cushion on here. So we've got the opposites on each sofa and then armchair as well. So I thought that worked beautifully. And we've got a little record player in here as well, which I thought was such a cute touch. I also add this decorative toy basket from the base game because if I'm doing a family house, more often than not, I will definitely add that to my living rooms. And then this is where I decided to add the family computer. I decided to add, oh no, sorry, it's just a laptop, but it still works as a computer, so your Sims can still do what they need to do on here to build skills, to apply for jobs, to do whatever they would like. And I loved adding the smaller table because I didn't want to add a full width desk because obviously we didn't really have the space to do it in that corner. So I'm actually really glad that we decided to land on the smaller sort of desk here. Just added a few clutter pieces and I'm so glad we finally decided on a colour scheme for this room because it really did set the tone for the rest of the house. And what you'll find as well is that I struggle a lot less with the other rooms in this house because I've already sort of nailed down the main room, and that's what I tend to do with my builds is I'll tend to begin on one room, and it does tend to be the living room more often than not. Every now and again to spice things up, I might work on the kitchen first, but it's very rare that I do that. But I do it every now and again, and it just sets the tone for the rest of the house. It means that I can kind of move on to the different rooms already knowing what sort of vibe I want to go for. So the dining room came together really quickly because the living room had taken me that long. I was like, well, I've already nailed down this style, so now I just need to try and continue it throughout the rest of the house. Now, just a warning as well, the kitchen, not my best work. I did struggle quite a bit with the kitchen, believe it or not, more than the living room. I know, right? More than the living room. So the kitchen is not my best work, unfortunately, but it is what it is. It's not a bad kitchen, it's just not a great kitchen, you know? I don't know whether I'm underselling it, and some of you might be watching this going, oh no, it's actually quite nice. And I've just realised as well, looking back on the footage, I could have definitely added an archway to the playroom from the dining room, which I think might have helped a little bit with, because you'll see me in just a minute struggle with what to put in this left corner here. I do end up landing on the cabinet from the Jungle Adventure pack, which works fine. It looks good, but I could have definitely added either an archway or a doorway to that room. So if you want to change it up, maybe you could do that, but for your Sims to just walk through to the left there, it's not going to take them that much longer, so I suppose it's no big deal. So I don't even know why I'm mentioning it, but yeah, it's a nice sized dining room. We've got the bay window obviously to match the front room as well, so I thought that was quite a nice touch. And again, the color scheme just came together really quickly because the living room just set the tone. It set the tone for the rest of the house, and I'm pleased with it. I also added some board games here. When we first got these with the Growing Together pack, I thought the board games were functional. I was so naive. And then someone said to me, they were like, yeah, they're not functional, Rachel. And I was so disappointed. But the reason I'm mentioning it is because my mum and dad in their house, they have like board games. They're not out in the dining room, they're in a cabinet in the dining room, and I just thought, why have I never added board games to a dining room when like that's literally how I grew up at my mum and dad's house? And it's just such a cute idea because especially at like around Christmas time, we used to obviously have our Christmas dinner and then we'd be like, right, what board game are we playing? And we'd just like have a rummage through the cabinet and decide which board game we wanted to play. So I just thought I was thinking of my parents in that moment, so I was like, oh, I just need to add some board games to that little unit in the corner, which I thought was such a cute idea. And then I decide I need to like rearrange some of this clutter because I don't know about you, I was panicking for a moment there thinking, have I forgotten about the clutter? No, I haven't. And then we start working on the kitchen. I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it again. Not my best work, but it's all right. I did use these cabinets from the Parenthood pack, and I feel like it's been a while since I've used these. Someone might correct me if I'm wrong, but this kitchen also ended up being quite a bit bigger than I had anticipated originally. So I think that's another thing that potentially threw me off. I was like, I know this is going to sound like a really silly thing to say, but it's such a square room and it was so big. I struggle with big square kitchen spaces because I often struggle to fill the space to make it look good. I am so envious of people who can make these kitchens, like bigger kitchens, look so good because it's something that I personally struggle with a lot. So if you're one of those people, just know I'm extremely, extremely jealous of you. But what I do end up doing in here, which I thought was kind of nice, is that I end up mismatching the cabinets with the counters. It is something that I will do every now and again. It's something that I used to do back in my days when I used to post on Tumblr very, very frequently with my Sims builds, and I used to mismatch the cabinets with the countertops purposefully, but I'd do it like with completely different colors. Like at least here the blue ties in with the blue tiles on the floor. I mean, I would have like yellow counters and like bright pink cabinets you know, but yeah, I didn't do that here, so I don't even know why I'm mentioning it. Use this fridge from the kitchen clutter kit, which I think I used quite a few items from, if I'm not mistaken. And then I think just... I'll tell you why I struggle with kitchens of this size, because cluttering them for me is very, very difficult because it's an overwhelmingly big space. I think just in general, I struggle with decorating bigger spaces because I do like to clutter up spaces more often than not. And I think with bigger spaces, although you've got more room to add more clutter, for me, that makes it more daunting. And I think when you've got a lot of clutter in a big, big, big space, I don't think it looks as good. And I know that might sound a little bit silly, but I think when you've got a smaller space and like just the right amount of clutter, I think that looks so much better. And I just feel more comfortable decorating smaller spaces. You'll have to let me know in the comments down below if you're exactly the same as me, or if you just prefer building in like these huge houses and you're like, yes, I can do that. I am so jealous of you, just know that. I'm definitely more in my comfort zone when it comes to smaller builds. So yeah, I use quite a few items from the kitchen clutter declutter kit. I was so thankful when that kit came out first, because I was like, oh, finally, I'm not going to struggle with cluttering up my kitchens as much as I would have done, obviously, without the kit. So like the cereal boxes are so cute, and like there's swatches where you can have like cereal out on the counter as well. It's such a cute idea, honestly. So if I'm building a family house, more often than not, I will add those cereal boxes. I know the cookie jar's functional, so I know that your Sims can grab a cookie from the cookie jar, but I don't know if the cereal boxes are functional in that like they can just grab a bowl of cereal. I'm going to err on the side of caution here and go with no, probably not. With it being The Sims 4 and everything. I also gave this family a rice cooker, and don't mind me what I'm doing, because what I'm actually trying to do is I'm actually trying to size down a kitchen counter so that I can like push the rice cooker further back, because for some reason, and it's the same with a lot of the coffee machines as well, like they sit really far forward on the counter and it really winds me up. But I don't know whether I'm obviously doing something very wrong in that I just could not make it work. So yes. And then I actually accidentally as well went down a floor there, which is why the screen went black for just like half a second. I don't know if anybody else does this when they're building. I feel like more people probably do it than not, right? You know, like where you just accidentally hit. I don't even know I think is it the page down key I accidentally hit, or the end key? I'm not entirely sure. And it just like drops down and you're like, whoa, what happened there? Or like if you've set a particular camera angle to like a number and you accidentally hit that number on the keyboard, and then you're like a boomerang, your screen almost boomerangs and you're like completely drawn towards like another area of the screen. I don't even know why I'm mentioning that, but it's something that I do, I would say, more often than not when I'm building. So I just thought I'd mention it just so in case people are like, what just happened? It's me just being slap happy with my keyboard. So the kitchen's done. Let me know what you think about that in the comments down below, because not my favorite kitchen, but some of you might like it, and I hope you do, genuinely. It's not a bad kitchen, but it's not great either. But then we do move on to the entryway here. I actually found this quite easy to decorate because I used a few items from the, is it Grange Mudroom kit? The one that I'm in now. Yeah, I feel like it's Grange Mudroom, and I just think making entryways with that kit just makes it so much easier. I talked about that when the kit first came out, and this sort of wardrobe looking unit in the corner here actually functions as a wardrobe, so your Sims can use it to change their outfits and plan their outfits and stuff. I did not know that until I tested it in the main bedroom of this house, and I was like, that is such a good idea, and I'm really glad that it's actually a functional item, because I think it would have been too easy for them to just have that as a decorative item. So I also add a few sort of kids clutter pieces to this entryway just to really show that there are kids living in this build if you hadn't really gotten that vibe already. I also off camera add some more items to the living room, I think, just to sort of pay homage to the kids that are actually in this. There we are, look. So I actually end up adding like this play mat, and then there's like the little crafting thing. It's not functional on the coffee table, but just again that little bit of detailing that kind of adds to the family dynamic of this particular build. And then we work on the playroom here. So this room is very colourful. I think this room is primarily, well, it's primarily used by the eldest child of this family. So there's a lot of like baby blues in here, pinks, yellows. I didn't really want anything to match too much, but I also didn't want it to look like just a mess. So, and then I also thought it would be a really nice space for the twins to use when they grow up as well, because there is a little bit of an age gap between the kids in this house, and I just thought it was a nice space. I love adding playrooms to builds. Every time I do it, people are like, I am so glad you added a playroom to this house, because it's such a nice space for the child Sims to just spend time in. So if I've got the space to do it and I'm building a family house, then know that I'll keep doing this, because not only are they really fun for me to build, but knowing that you guys actually use them as the functional spaces and just appreciate it just makes it so much better for me. Yeah, so with wall decals and stuff like that, I used a variety of packs. I think I even used some stuff from high school years, as well as like this little unicorn print from base game. You'd best believe if I'm building a family house, that little unicorn makes an appearance more often than not. It's so cute. So there's some posters on the wall. There's a cat calendar. There's a toy box, a dollhouse, obviously the teddy that they can interact with, that little magnet board from the in-game event that we had a few months ago now. As much as I don't know how I feel about in-game events, to be completely honest, but when they give us items like that, I'm like, okay, that's kind of cute. So the playroom's done, and then we move on to the garage space. So as I was explaining, I think I explained this at the beginning. I explained at the beginning that this is a bit of a multi-purpose space. So we do have a woodworking table in here. There's an easel. I do also end up adding a kayak. I know, right? Like, just bear with me a second, because it's not something that I would typically add to a garage, a kayak from the Adventure Awaits pack. But I don't know, I came across it in the catalogue. Here we are, and I was like, yeah, sure, like, let's put a kayak in here. Maybe one of the parents really enjoys kayaking. I'm not sure if they can take the kayak and use it in the waters of San Sequoia. In my head, I'd like to think that that is a possibility. Please let me know if that's, because I'm not like really into gameplay in The Sims 4, but I know a lot of you are. So please tell me in the comments down below if that's even possible, because if it is, then the kayak and San Sequoia, in my opinion, kind of go quite well together, because there's quite a lot of water in San Sequoia. But again, not much of a gameplay person, so I'm not entirely sure. There's also a bike in here. There's a rack of weights. There's a washer and dryer, the Christmas tree that we spoke about at the beginning. And then I did put a laundry basket in here. And I think I also remembered to add a laundry basket to all of the bedrooms, although someone in one of my last videos had told me as long as there is a laundry basket near the washer and dryer, your Sims won't leave dirty clothes everywhere. So I think I've been like panicking and fretting for many years about where to put laundry baskets, and apparently if they're near the washer and dryer, I hope what I'm saying is right. They won't leave like messes of clothes all over the house, which is great. And then I also thought one of the parents, maybe when they were younger, like maybe a, you know, like late teen / young adult, they maybe worked in a bar. So there's like different sort of like neon signs that I feel like they maybe took with them when they left that job. I just thought that was a really nice idea. And then I was like, oh, I'll add a yoga mat in here as well, because it just means it's something else for your Sims to do in here. And I also ended up adding, in the split level home that I did not too long ago, I actually ended up adding a home gym. And I'd spoken about how I needed to add more. This isn't obviously a home gym at all. I'm not saying this, but like more exercise equipment to my Sims builds, because it's not something that I'll typically do. But again, it's just more things for your Sims to enjoy and partake in the house. And then we start working on the main bathroom of the build. This is actually quite a big bathroom, and I even remembered to add the little like potty that your Sims use to potty train like really young I think it's toddlers. Is it toddler age they learned how to use the potty, or can infants use it as well? Look, again, not much of a game player, so please someone in the comments down below let me know which is correct. I know you have to teach toddlers how to use the potty, but I don't know whether you have to teach infants. I would go with not, because they have a, sorry. Wow, I really am struggling to talk today. They have a changing table, so I feel like maybe infants know. And then I do decide to decorate the ensuite, because I was like, well, if I'm decorating that bathroom, I may as well just pop on in here and decorate the ensuite as well. So I'm glad I did that. There's just a toilet, a sink, and a shower in here. So just because it's a slightly smaller space, I mean, I could have added like a bath shower combination in here. I just decided not to, because we've already got a bath shower combination in the other bathroom, so I don't feel the need to do that in here. And we do add a laundry basket in this bathroom. I don't think I add one in the main bedroom space. I don't think I do. Oh well, we'll find out together, won't we? But these rooms are pretty much done. I just end up adding some like little details on the walls and such. And then I work on the landing here. I call this a landing. I'm not entirely sure what anybody else would call it, but it's basically the room at the top of the stairs that lead off to the other rooms of the house. I'm not sure why I call it a landing. I don't know whether that's a UK thing or whether it's something that everybody calls it. But yeah, there's not really too much going on in this space. There's a little armchair up here because it is quite a big room, quote unquote. It's not really a room, but it is. So I just add a few furniture pieces up there just to make the space look a little less empty. And I also wanted to make sure it was in keeping with the rest of the sort of decor that we had going on in the house as well. So we've got like the blue rug with the bright pink flowers. I just thought they worked so nicely together. I do end up layering these mirrors here as well, which is something that I've never done, but I thought that was just such a nice idea. And I can't remember whether my mum, yes, that's right. When I was growing up as well, we used to have a mirror at the top of the stairs. And actually my house now, we have a mirror at the top of, because we live in a 3-story house, but we have a mirror at the top of the first set of stairs. So obviously I'm just like thinking about my childhood home at the moment. I'm not entirely sure why. Not that it's a bad thing, but it's clearly on my mind. And then we start working on the main bedroom here. It took me, again, a little while to set on a colour scheme for this room. I'm not entirely sure why that was. I knew I wanted to include blue, but I can't remember if I ended up changing the colour of the walls to a cream and then we add more blue in the decor. I'm not entirely sure, but I do toy around with the idea of making this room more of like a greeny, orangey, beigey colour, and sort of trying to match up this rug. I think it's from Horse Ranch, I think. But I knew I wanted to use this bed, but looking back, I'm not sure if I end up changing the bed. I really don't know. My memory is terrible at the minute. Like I said, I only finished this yesterday night. Did I finish this yesterday night? Yes, I did. Yes, I absolutely did. And for some reason, I'm like, oh yeah, I can't even remember what items I used in certain rooms. It's clearly the rooms that aren't very memorable to me, because there's other rooms that I'm talking about and I'm like, oh yes, I remember putting this, that and the other in here. But unfortunately in this room, it's a no. I think this is the colour scheme that I end up deciding on actually with this rug. So that's interesting. It's a rug that I don't necessarily use very often, but I thought it worked quite well with the sort of overall theme of the bedroom. We do have a TV in here. We've got a chest of drawers and 2 wardrobes in here because, again, the room's quite big. So I wanted to try and fill the space, make everything look intentional, make everything look as it should. And overall, I'm quite pleased with it. I usually don't get very excited about my main bedrooms, and this is one of those times where I'm not overly excited about it, but I don't dislike it either. It's okay. It's an all right room. It definitely, it could be better, but it could be worse as well. One of these days, I'm going to be able to say, oh yes, this bedroom and all the rooms in the house, everything is just chef's kiss, and I won't have a complaint about any of the rooms. I don't know when that's ever going to happen, if ever, but you never know, it might happen. But yeah, we had a little armchair in here as well because I did have the space to do that. Originally, I was going to add a mirror in this corner, and then I was like, no, I'm not really feeling that, so I'll just put a little laundry basket there because I didn't know what else to put there, in all honesty. And then we just end up adding a few clutter pieces to the bedside tables. There's like a decorative yoga mat and like a dumbbell in here as well, because I think one of the parents, or maybe even both of them, are quite into fitness and well-being and things of that nature. So I thought that was just a really nice idea. Very last thing I do in there is just change the size of that cushion. Nothing major. And then we move on to the twin infants bedroom. So you'll see I've made this room a little bit wider because if you remember in the original floor plan, this room was really quite narrow. I think I could have made it work, definitely, but I'm much preferring the way that this looks, to be completely honest. I think this looks a lot better. I think it works a lot better. I think for gameplay and things like that, this is fantastic. I also think this room is big enough, obviously, I had in mind that all 3 of these kids were actually girls, but obviously you can do whatever you would like with your family dynamic. It's just the way that I wanted to decorate it. I was just in the mood to use a lot of like pinks and oranges and creams and yellows and like softer colours in the kids' bedrooms here. So yeah, three girls, quite a handful. And what I was thinking was, when the infants age up, this is a really nice room to sort of turn into a toddler bedroom and then a kids' bedroom. And then I think by the time I was thinking the the infants are like child age nearing teenage, the other child will potentially have already moved out, so they'll then be able to have their own, they'll each be able to have their own bedroom. I like to think about things like that when I'm building as well, because obviously houses need to be adaptable to different stages depending on where you're at in your Sims lives. And I think with this house, that was definitely at the forefront of my mind, which I was actually really pleased about. And then this is when I was realizing, oh, I've actually got quite a bit of space in here, and I am now struggling with what to put where. So I think if I were to do this again, I would potentially add each of the cots on like either side of the bedroom rather than having them side by side. I think that would have made the room a little bit more balanced. I'm not like, obviously that's not what I've done in this room, which is fine. I think it's good to look back on things and be like, well, if I were to do this again, I would potentially do it this way, or I would potentially do it this way. So I do that a lot. And so that is something that I would definitely do in this room. I think because when I look at empty walls, I always feel the need to fill the empty walls. I've talked about this many times. I don't know if that's something that everybody does or whether it's just a me thing, but I always look at an empty wall and I'll go, well, that needs something on it, either something to break up the space, or it needs some wall decals, just something. So that's the first two bedrooms done. And then lastly, we move on to the third bedroom, which is for the eldest child. So this is, I don't know whether I spoke about this at the beginning, but this is where I decide that this child is going to have a double bed. And I'm not entirely sure why. I've never done this before. Like I said, for me, when I'm building or decorating, kids' bedrooms, it's like single bed, really bright colors, like really obvious kids' bedroom. And I think we used quite a lot of bright colors and sort of like pinks and pastel blues in here and things like that. But I think having the double bed in here made me think a little bit more outside the box as to what this sim could be interested in and into. So I wanted to make it quite clear that this wasn't a teen room. I wanted to make it clear that this was still a kid's bedroom. So you'll find a lot of toys in here. So like this little tiger plush. I do not talk about this enough, and I don't think I use it enough in my Sims builds either, but it is the cutest thing ever. I think it's from the For Rent pack from Live Edit or Debug, I can't remember which, but it is so cute, and I was like, oh, I need to add that in this bedroom. So that's just on the left hand bedside table there. And then I struggled for a little while with what artwork I wanted to put above the wall, and I do end up landing on this one. Is that from Parenthood? I want to say it's from Parenthood. I'm not entirely sure. Please let me know in the comments down below if I am wrong about that. There's something telling me that it's not. But anyway, so there's like a purple wardrobe in here. We've got this little cat toy. We've got a toy box. So as you can see, I think if this were a teen room, it would be a lot more grown up. But this sim does also have her own desk. And this is where I put the little, I would call that like a little tablet conversion. Like with the iPads, you can get like the detachable keyboard and things like that. So I feel like that's more of like a converted tablet. So I do end up adding that in here, as well as some other clutter items on the desk. And it just, this room, I did love it. And initially I was going to make this for another set of twins, which you could definitely still do if you wanted to. But then I was like, I mean, I know it happens. It definitely happens in real life, and it definitely happens in The Sims too. But what are the odds of your Sims having two sets of twins? Might be quite high depending on how you play. And also I wanted to just try and do something a little bit different in this bedroom as well. So I was like, yeah, we'll do the double bed situation. And then we just add a bookcase over here, I think, because I think adding bookcases to kids' bedrooms is so important, as well as this little chair just next to the bookcase as well. But that's pretty much it for the building process of the build. So what we will do now is we will hop back on into the game and we'll do like a live tour of the house so that we can talk through the entire build and all the details. So here is our finished house. I'm so pleased with how this turned out. I love the blue siding with the pops of the yellow in the sunflowers. I think that looks really nice. We've got our side yard over here with plenty of activities for you and your Sims to get involved in. The swing set, the planter boxes, there's somewhere to sit and eat. There's a barbecue, of course. We've got our little seating area just underneath the side porch. And then we've got the landscaping that I worked on off camera. If you want to extend this garden out, you can definitely do that. I just decided not to, because otherwise it would be a very skinny garden. Very skinny, but you could make it work. I just could not. I also put a few more planter boxes just outside the garage as well. Speaking of the garage, if we move on to the inside of it, we've got our washer and dryer, we've got some weights, we've got the kayak. Bit of a bold choice, but I'm glad we put that in there. Truthfully, I am. We've got an easel in here, we've got a cool box to store food in, we've got the what's this called, the balloon, water balloon bucket, that's it. We've got the water balloon bucket there. We've got our woodworking table, a yoga mat. So there's plenty of things for your Sims to do in there. And like, we've even got a bike and a football and some hopscotch. It's just so wholesome. And then if we move onto the inside of the house, we've got our entrance here. So this is how the entryway turned out. I think it's nice. It's not too big, it's not too small. I think the size of it is just right, along with some kids clutter here and a chair. I imagine you Sims, that's the chair that they would sit on to take off their shoes and put their shoes on as well. Not that they do that in gameplay, but I just think that was a nice kind of detail to add there. We've got our living room. I love how this turned out, even though it took me the longest time to try and decide on the color schemes that I wanted to go for in here, but overall I think this looks really good. And then just taking a look at it through from the dining room as well, I love it. It looks so nice. So that's the living room. I don't know what just happened to my camera there, by the way, so I do apologize. This is the dining room. I think this turned out quite nicely as well. It's not my favourite room of the house, and like I said, I think you could definitely put an archway or a door in here so that you can access this room. It just obviously mean that you'd lose out on some space in here, so that's entirely up to you if you wanted to do that. It's just an option if you would like it to be. And then the kitchen. Look, not my favourite kitchen, as we've already discussed, so I'm not going to bang on about it, but it's okay. I also added a few more clutter pieces, and I also added a bin in here because if you remember correctly, I did not put a bin in when I was decorating this, and I didn't do that in my split level house as well. Oh, I got called out on that. Again, completely fair, but yeah, completely forgot to add a bin in the kitchen, so I had to add that off camera. I don't know what it is with me at the minute forgetting to add bins to my kitchens. Clearly it's a phase, or I hope it's a phase. Let's hope it's short-lived. So that's the kitchen, and then if we move on to the upper floor, we've just got the landing here. There's really not too much going on, but I like the fact that the pink ties in with the pink flowers. I think that looks really cute. The main bathroom, of course, with the little potty, so your Sims can potty train their toddlers. And then the main bedroom. I think it's okay. I think I could have definitely added just a little bit more orange in here. I think if I were to do this again, I'd just try and add just a smidge more orange. But overall, I think it looks all right. And then we've got the small ensuite so that the parents have their own bathroom, access to their own bathroom, which I thought was really important. And then moving on to the twin infant daughter's bedroom. This came out really cute. It's very pink in here. I went with the pink wallpaper. I don't know whether that was a little bit bold. But I think overall it goes with the cutesy theme. And we've also got like the rocking chair here so they can rock the babies to sleep. We've got a bookcase, a little infant play mat. It's just a really nice sort of functional space for your Sims to enjoy with their kids. And then lastly, moving on to the final bedroom that we worked on. So this is for the eldest child, who I still think is a child. I don't think they're a teen. They're still a child. They've still got the toy boxes and things in here. But if you wanted to turn this into a teen's room, it really wouldn't take too much work. But I'm really pleased overall with this bedroom. And I love all the clutter on this table. Like, I just think that looks so good. So that is our house and house tour completely done. If you'd like to download this, it's available from the gallery right now. My origin ID is RachelPedd. Tray files, as always, are linked down in the description box just below. You can get them from SimFileShare. But I really hope you enjoyed today's video, everyone. You all take care, and I will see you all again very, very soon. Bye!